I can only hear on my left ear, and it's Max breathing into the mic.
I can't hear that.
No, Black Dragons are just a bunch of old dudes.
Black Dragons are just a bunch of old dudes.
Yeah.
Still only my left ear.
Are you a tool?
No, I'm not.
Are you a tool?
No.
Does your right ear
Are you a
work?
tool now?
No.
How about now?
No.
Now?
No. Maybe now.
How about now?
No.
Now?
No.
Now?
No.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay. You are a tool.
Victory! And that's a podcast, gentlemen. We'll see.
All right. Thank you for listening. This has been episode 7.
I thought this was episode 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
that's
go
right.
with
Sorry. 2. Spence
two.
wasn't here for
Episode
episode.
2?
I was here.
Let's do it right now.
Let's do it right now. All right. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Learn to Wargame audio podcast. I am Brandon, or PG Meals on the forums.
Spence. Just Spence on the forums.
This is Max. I'm Age of Egos on the forums.
It's my favorite thing.
This is Jeremy, and I'm Lord Fool.
Nice.
What are we doing?
We're trying something new, yo.
All right.
Trying it new.
Like,
Let's do that because you guys are very interested.
Yeah, but like we don't
And I
have
can
the
just-
books.
I can
don't
just
know
look
anything?
at you guys and nod.
Yes, that's normal.
Max's contribution is the nodding. That is for you people at home.
Yeah.
Yes, that's interesting.
That's the thing. Yeah,
But
Yeah,
no,
you should get that
that's
bombardier gun.
yeah, that's the thing.
in all seriousness, this is episode 24 of Learn to Wargame.
Episode 24.
And today we're just going to kind of talk about random topics we've been thinking about throughout the week. So, I thought we'd start off, what?
Boobs.
Boobs. Thank you, Jeremy, for
That
that.
actually was probably at least 98% of the topics I thought of this week.
That's fair.
The other
feel
2% was, or 1% was pussy, and the other percent was ass. So
Let's take a few seconds and reflect. All right.
Still reflecting.
So-
Give me a second.
Still reflecting.
All right. Right now, I'm entirely focused on the fact that I was walking through the waiting room at work today, and we have TVs in there, and one of them consistently plays cartoons, and the My Little Pony cartoon was on there, and it was the season of some shit that I've never seen before. I don't know which bothered me more, is the fact that I haven't seen it yet, or the fact that I actually stopped and was watching this long enough. The customer was like, "I don't get this." What?
You weren't talking into your mic. You were talking to me. When you look at me and talk away from your mic, it doesn't help people.
There we go. I could talk to all three of you at the same time.
Fair. Okay.
My name is Spence, and I have a problem.
You do have a problem.
I do.
Your problem is your brain.
Aw, tism.
well, I think
Okay, so what I thought...
L2 War
what are we
Game.
actually talking about before we actually start this bullshit?
Wait,
Whether or not we're not starting.
whether or not we've started already.
I think we should just pick a faction and just go to town talking everything we can think about that faction, get it out there.
It's terrible.
Right. I thought we should start with Menoth because we've talked about Menoth a lot lately, and apparently everyone in our meta thinks Menoth is the thing to play right now.
Despite what
I
Max
disagree.
says the other day. I mean, like, I was laughing about it because you said, like, you know, who the hell plays Menoth? I mean, literally, we were two of us in the podcast, we made reference to that, but then on top of that, we were at tabletop
Fucking
on Monday.
everybody, yeah.
Well, there were 5 tables going on. Every one of those 5 tables, Menoth was being played. I don't know who's drawing them to them. It's definitely not.
Yeah, to be fair, there's like 3 people that are like, you know, I would consider on the competitive edge of the game in our area, and then everybody else was kind of like getting into Menoth, it felt like, so...
Is this a holdover from the Journeyman?
Maybe, but also it could be that Menoth hasn't been played a lot lately just because of the way the meta ended last year. There wasn't very much Menoth. So everyone simultaneously is like, man, I better get into Menoth while there's no one doing it. And then next week there's like 8 people and it's like, damn it.
Well, yeah.
Also, I've scooped on Menoth because they're bad, so.
That's terrible. I'm kind of curious whether or not this is just a thought. Bastions were always a really cool thing. Currently, warders are a really, really strong thing. So I wonder people are saying like, "Oh, warders are really strong. I want my own heavy infantry. Do I want fist? No, I don't want to play scorn. What's other heavy infantry?" And they see bastions like, "I'm going to go that direction," not understanding it's nowhere near the same type of thing.
They have successfully failed at whatever they were trying to do.
What are you talking about?
Bastions don't do the same
If you
jobs.
want heavy infantry, you play Cranks.
Yeah, that's true. You get the Black Ogre boarding party.
No
It's a lot for a little. That's a lot for a little.
Don't forget the Brute Thralls.
It's a little for a little, let's be
Shit,
honest.
brute thralls. That's it.
Yeah, mid-mechanic thralls with 3 brute thralls.
That's basically a medium-based unit.
Let's let's be honest about this, okay? Mechanothralls are simply a brute thrall attachment.
That's true.
Yeah.
3 points.
That's so... Wow. Okay.
It's funny that the exact same cost of the unit could be the same cost as the weapon attachments.
So bad. Why is that bad? Because I don't get all the models in the game in my
Problem
faction.
is they're the stats of, like, they're actually slightly worse than the stats of circle medium infantry. So they suck.
Why has that not happened yet?
What? Circle, medium base
circle, medium base infantry.
You haven't played Morvana 2 very often, have you?
Just that one time the other day that I was very upset about.
And the whole time you bitched about how OP skinwalkers were. So I think you've seen it.
I can't stand them.
Oh my god, they get 2 attacks?
It was so...
You mean if 5 of them charge by one guy, he'll probably die? Like, it was
Why would
bad.
he die?
Aren't there 6 of them?
But he's a bastion. Aren't they immortal?
With Harbinger.
That's not true.
No, it's not. Because he'll only martyr the one that's getting attacked 11 times.
No, I'm gonna martyr
and not martyr the one that randomly gets killed by blast
I'm
damage.
going to martyr that errant.
That's true.
All right. Today's real topic: Exelon Texas.
Exelon, Texas.
Let's
All
make
right.
a list.
It's a model in the game.
We're making a list for Exelon?
No.
All right, good. Because it's like, there's a list of 5 things. Randomly decide amongst those 5 things repeatedly
It's like they
until you
have
get
How
Blue
many
allowance.
blue thralls do we
if
want?
you play them in tier, there's 2 choices, and it's from everything and
That's
fucking
true.
works.
I do like crows combined with Aeon and Holt. That is fun. Because you just DK things around backwards. And you have POW 12 Weapon Master Guns, which is awesome.
Double weapons.
Double Weapon Master Guns, that's correct.
Only gets living though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's your hordes drop, man.
Cephalix will never be anything in the game that matters.
No.
Ever. Ever.
Until they get like 3 warcasters.
That's still not going to matter.
Well, dwarves matter, so it's possible they could matter.
Dwarves matter why?
Thor.
Thor is the best Warcaster in the game.
They are getting a battle engine.
Okay. Rulik Warcasters as a faction are a great Thor attachment. I'd like to play Thor Steinhammer. Okay, well here, what would you like to take with your Thor? That's what it's going to
I'm going to take Durgan.
None of this is mental.
Why you always
That's true.
handicap yourself by dwarves?
Yeah, dwarves can be taken in Menoth.
It's true.
The ones that matter can't.
Why?
It's
I
weird.
Don't know.
No, because if the ones that mattered could, they could take the TAC core.
Don't
They'd
they?
not lose automatically against some matchups.
Don't they persecute anybody that's not human?
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
but most of the ones they can take have the helmets on.
So they can't see him?
So they're like, maybe
Well,
they're
that's
just
just a
short
midget.
humans.
That's just a midget.
Yeah.
They're just really
Because I
short.
feel like they would just rack a midget because he's a midget.
Well, I find it really awkward.
No,
in
because a
forces,
midget's a man.
Resnick, the most intolerant and hateful of all the Menites, takes a bunch of mercenary models. What in the fuck is going on there? It's Resnick. Why
He
is he...
would rather not spill the blood of any of his
That's so
Menoth brethren.
ungoddamn true.
I don't know. I don't
It's because
read
he
the
operates behind the lines.
In the fluff, they come across actual villages of Menites, of people in the Protectorate. Like actual villages where women and children and everybody have just been killed and racked. And they're all like, guess Resnick came here. Like, that's just normal. Like, once a week, they're all like, whole city killed, because Resnick was like, y'all are not a 10. Like, I like that 9.9 you guys are worshipping at, but you're not a 10. I have a sheet of paper with everybody's fucking name on it. That's kind of what he does. Like, if they send him to war more often, he may be as cool as the Butcher, but he's too busy killing, children. And
He's too busy getting
innocents.
killed by the Butcher.
That's never happened.
That's never happened.
That's
Okay.
so terrible.
So, I think if we're going to talk about Menoth, or just the state of the meta in our area, at least right now, what have you noticed playing Menoth lately? Have you come into any specific struggles?
No.
No?
No.
Menoth's too strong?
They're entirely too... Well, okay. Issues that I've run into playing them. Okay. I still have an issue with trolls, just because I feel like everybody's still riding the horrible bandwagon. I asked you about this the other day on how you thought about highwaymen versus bastions, because I like running double bastions in every Menoth list, despite it not being the best choice sometimes.
It's not the best choice.
Key note, if you're going to
How
run
are
big...
more exemplars bad?
Well, it's not necessarily more exemplars, it's just specifically bastions. They only go on some lists.
I disagree.
Okay.
Well, I recently had an experiment trying to use Vindictus, like we said. I wanted to use Vindictus, and I want to make him work because I feel like he's very capable of it. I know. Jeremy's shaking his head. Everybody in the world says all these negative things about Vindictus, and I don't want to believe it. He has all the makings of somebody who's completely worthwhile. So I've tried to make him work. I figure, okay, True Path on Bastions, it's going to be fucking awesome. I can make Bastions do a lot with True Path. Let's go ahead and make it rock. I did, however, discover, though, through more than one game of trying this now, just making them a little bit faster doesn't give them Alpha Strike on anybody, because they're still Speed 4 reach.
Makes them as fast as OK troops.
Yeah. And this is the distinction that you're going to come across Menoth heavy infantry, such as Bastions, because those are the only Menoth heavy infantry that exists.
Incinerators could be speed 8 with True Path.
Could be. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Look at that. Whoa. That's never going to happen.
They could also almost...
When you defenders ward them, they're armor 19.
That's what I was going to say. They could almost live through an approach.
Whoa! If only they had those
19.
power 11 weapons with Flame Burst. Flame Burst is going to get a lot of work done. Anyway, what
they
I
have
was saying...
reach, right? I mean, like Bastions do?
No, they don't have reach. Why would they give them that?
Well, they have shield wall, though, because they have shields.
No, they don't have shields.
No,
Do they have defensive line?
They don't have defensive line.
Well, hold on.
Wait, they have reach.
No reach.
No reach, huh?
Just plus one.
Well, they're higher power than the Bastions, though, because they don't have reach.
No.
So, like, POW 14?
No.
No?
Well, they do have that defensive tech, like the Bastions have it. Shut up! Okay.
Well, do they at least have, like, Sacred Wards so they can't be parasited?
No.
What do they do?
They get shot off the table. They don't do as much as their brethren.
They screen your bastions.
They attempt to screen Bastions. Well, the problem with running Bastions with Vindictus is he just makes them as fast as other troops. He really does. And it doesn't give them anything realistically. And they're not tough enough to take it on the chin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's much better with the smaller infantry.
I agree.
Yeah.
Paladins are awesome with them.
And me and Spence originally disagreed upon this point, and I was like, no, you need to take different things other than Bastions. Like, if you want to take Bastions, take Harpy, and then if you don't want to take Bastions,
Does that only
Vindictus.
affect friendly faction?
What?
Yes.
What?
True Path is only
True
friendly
Path,
faction.
Yeah, okay.
Non-mercenary.
Though you can attendant priest something in.
Correct.
Sure.
Which is actually
you
true.
still run into... These are speed 4.
I would much rather
the Hammer
see...
Dwarfs.
I would much rather see Hammer Dwarves over Bastions, though. Because his kit just doesn't help the Bastions enough.
Right.
Well, Hammer Dwarves don't need much to help them.
Correct.
And they more than likely can get across the board a little bit better, just with that reach and small base, defensive line. And every one of them is going to take an attack to get off the board, whereas Bastions, little bit of something that's counterproductive here. Despite Vindictus' feat not being that great sometimes, if you use the Bastion's Sanguine Bond to switch the damage around, they're no longer taking damage from an enemy attack. So
they're taking damage from Sanguine Bond.
Yeah, they no longer damage the enemy model. So,
yeah.
Well, I think multi-wound troops are just not that good with his feet anyways.
I agree.
More one wounds you can put out there. I mean, incidental damage just kills their models.
So I'm thinking my next experiment is going to be running Vengers with him, hardcore.
Vengers with Defender Warden just seem good. Like, they're going to be so hard to take off the table.
They're going to hit from across the fucking table. They're going to do so much. I think that's going to be something. Now, it's also going to do, we were talking to James about this after the game.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of buying turns.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not really unheard of at all. I think it's something that's just assumed to be a great idea.
Kind of like Harbinger feat, stuff like that. It's like, I'm going to do something to where your next turn is basically pointless.
Yeah. The Zealots are considered really good because they actually have the capacity to buy you a turn in the game. So for what turns out to be a 6 or 8 point unit, you buy a turn. Like, you just jam up whatever, and they can't remove them realistically. They can't get rid of them. I mean, they just can't without wasting a ton of resources. It screws up their activations, and you get to buy yourself a turn of, I can do what I want and you don't. The Harbinger's feat realistically buys her a turn of, you can't move your models closer to mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. So the more times you can stack, my models get to do things and your models don't in a game, or just, that's Haley too. Isn't that what she does?
Pretty much, yeah.
So it's just interesting to be able to find ways to do that. Reason a lot of times warders get away with things is because they turn what your opponent does into nothing because they're that durable. So you're just effectively finding a way to put enough effects on the table to where your opponent can't do things for his turns. It just sounds very simple, but think about it. Like, what were we talking about in Legion? How Legion does it with Ethagrosh.
Ethagrosh and like Veil 1, Scout and Mouse, both things letting you Alpha Strike and then disengage and prolong the fight till next turn when you get to Alpha Strike again. allowing you to deliver full force to your army multiple times.
And that's kind of just a good thought to consider doing that. I think with Vindictus, if I run Vengers with him, I can get Vengers up on his line. Vengers being up on his line are going to bind the term of him having to deal with the Vengers. They have to. Vengers hit from downtown. And then, yeah, there are things out there that out-threat Vengers, but not a lot.
Well, it's not even not a lot, but with Defender's Ward on them 14-19 and then Battle Driven going to 14-21, they're as hard to remove as Warders, if not harder most of the time. And they can flank, they can, sit back and threaten areas, like they can sit just outside of a zone and threaten the entire zone, letting your opponent basically not have the option of moving into it to control it without losing a lot of things. But also, going back to what we said before, with Bastions with Vindictus, just doesn't have that timing mechanic, because all he's doing is removing the negative of a unit. He's not actually increasing it to a positive.
You've increased no value there.
Yeah. You've just made a negative go away versus gaining a positive.
So I think that, who else in Menoth can do something like, okay, I'll do my favorite, and that's the fact that Kraus 2, you do buy yourself a second turn. That's all his feat does. It gives you a second turn right now.
Right, but yeah, you're gaining your next turn right now.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
You're combining your next
It's not the
turns.
same exact thing, but it's just a matter of you're condensing your time.
It is a little bit different. High Reclaimer similar. I'm going to drop a Cloud Wall to prevent your next turn of offense.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess it's just maybe we're stretching it to go like maybe even in Testament. The fact that I would have to fight through troops to get to where I want them to go, but now I don't have to for this one turn because I just put them where they should go.
Yeah, it's a little different, but yeah.
It's the same type of thing.
Kind of similar.
Severius 1. You don't get focus for a turn. You can't cast spells.
Can be crippling, yeah.
Well, it's just a matter
Depends
of...
on the matchup a lot, but yeah, it can be. People complain about his feet, but it can be really crippling sometimes.
So, I mean, Flamebringers is probably the next purchase I'm going to make, just because I don't own them yet. There's a lot of hype about how good they could be. I'm still not buying it.
They're liked amongst a lot of the Menoth players, but at the same time, a lot of people hate them, so.
You said you were scooping on Menoth. Why?
Because they're bad. I won't play Trolls.
Is that what it is? You played Trolls once the other day, now suddenly you're all into it?
It's super fun.
I hate Troll players.
No, I just miss being able to do whatever I want whenever I feel like.
That's
Trolls.
Why play any other faction?
It's like, I feel like just being dumb and running at my opponent. Like, I can do that. No, I'm still going to play a lot of Menoth, but I want to get some other stuff in. So I'm probably going to play Trolls at the tournament tomorrow, and then probably go back to Menoth after that. Mainly, I'm waiting on my Krios 1 stuff to get back from my painter. And once that happens, I'm going to be all in on Krios 1.
God. Jeremy, why don't you ever play anything? I want to see Jeremy put models on the table.
I got them out in the car. Let's play.
It's like 1,000,000,000 o'clock at night.
So?
Are you saying you're so weak that you need sleep?
Yes, I am so weak that I need sleep.
Monday. How about Monday?
You play Monday? Okay, we'll play Monday.
All right.
Jeremy,
Are you not coming to the tournament tomorrow, Jeremy?
Well, let's see.
He's
I won't
not.
be.
Yeah,
But are you?
I might.
Okay. So Monday.
I don't know if I want to be called Bacon all day. or
That's
not,
true.
so.
Because people can't remember your name except to call you Bacon.
Because you have a shirt. It says bacon.
Bacon!
To be fair, it got stolen from my brother and given to me, so it makes it that much better.
It was stolen by an anonymous third party and then gifted to you by the same anonymous third party.
It was Gorman.
To be fair, it's because it got left in the way for 3 months.
Is this similar to where his cat got gifted to you? Jeremy, I'm leaving. Take care of my cat. Goodbye.
Pretty much.
All right.
What else are you going to say about Menoth?
They're bad. They should feel bad.
Nobody should play Menoth. Nobody. Get off my faction, assholes.
Get off my back.
Get off my faction.
Your faction.
Actually, another thing. If you have a Harbinger model and she has wings on her,
Kill yourself.
stop it. Just fucking stop it.
Well, how else does she fly?
I hate
She doesn't fly.
My God.
I like how the other day, the story, like, I'm going to do my Harbinger old school because no one does the model as it is normally. I'm
No one does.
like, you mean my Harbinger? And you're like, no one does that.
I know every fucking Harvey model.
He doesn't do it old school. He has a round rod instead of.
Oh
flat.
yeah. You reflagged that.
That's
Look at
true.
you.
I did put a brass rod instead of the
Is
normal.
it brass?
It's brass.
That's weird.
But
Yeah,
did you
it's
pin?
old school. New school is steel.
You're such a douche.
But did you pin the brass rod?
I did not pin the brass rod to the model. I just used it.
Then you're slacking, sir.
I know. I agree.
Any idea how infuriating it is to see any model with wings on it that doesn't need wings? If you have a Vlad 1 model and it has wings, I'm going to break it.
Going based.
Put it on the table, I'm going to break it. I'm going to do it.
Put wings on Vlad 1.
Dude, 2003, every Vlad had wings.
Now, what if his Fiora it's like fire wings?
Okay, in honor of Jacob, I'm going to go ahead and say this. He has the greatest suggestion in the world. Every time he brings this up, I want to do it so badly just because I want to troll somebody with it. I want to reuse a Fiora 2 model for literally every model in my army. Like, mod out a whole, 11 of them for a full squad of zealots with the Malefarer. All of them are Fiora 2 models that I've sculpted little hats on, taken away the actual spear and given them little fire bombs. So a whole unit of them, all painted up and done, are just Fiora 2 models that have been modded. I want to make a Crusader that's actually just a bunch of Fiora 2s that have been glued together awkwardly holding a Crusader mace. So it's like you're seeing my whole army, and it's just a ton of Fiora 2 models. And they're all just in different forms. You're like, I don't know what anything is over there.
In the interest of everyone everywhere, please don't do that.
It'd be amazing. It'd be a completely illegal army, but every model that is Fiora 2 does well.
I think Privateer would lose their shit. They're like, we need to make a third Fiora.
Just sell a ton of them. If Privateer Press actually pays attention to any specific model being sold, and that's how they actually decide what they're going to make more of or invest more time in, I could control that. I have a ton of liquid income. I'll make Vilmon a Warcaster. Okay, you know how many Vilmons I could have?
Don't. Just don't.
How many units of Incinerators do I have currently?
I'm hoping less than 4.
I have 6 units of Incinerators.
You do not.
I have 6 units of Incinerators. You gave me 2.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I need those back.
I have most of them except the unit leaders. I've had to make a bunch of Kraos 2 models.
Oh my god.
I think Brandon's having a stroke.
I'm having a stroke.
Max, you've seen my Kraos 2.
What's that?
You've seen my Kraos 2.
Krios
You've
too.
seen my Kraos 2.
Yeah.
I use Incinerator models and I just
He didn't even use a Bastion. He used a Incinerator.
Well, the Bastions don't hold the Justifier weapon as well. Don't give me that look.
I'm giving you that look.
Isn't he a small base model?
It's on a small base.
Fact. Max is correct.
He is on a small base.
Explain to me by what rules that model is legal in the tournament.
Does he have a pokey stick?
He has the Justifier weapon from the original.
He has Kraos 2's weapon.
Yes.
And head, I believe.
No, the head is from Plastic
God
Kraos 1
damn
model.
it.
The only part of that model that is actually Kraos 2 is the weapon.
Is he holding it like one hand?
One-handed, pointed outward like he's the babe. He's out there. Yeah. And I used the Bastion Seneschal shoulder pads because I like them and they're more detailed.
I don't think you did.
I did.
I don't believe you.
No, the original one's all scrapped. That one doesn't want. That's why.
Okay, so you threw that away and
Yeah.
started again
Spence.
and then used them.
I removed the priest from Sebi 2. Want me to give you those so you can step on them?
Yes.
And it's on a small
Yes.
base.
Actually, I'll do that with Vindictus.
Vindictus just seems like Father Fondle to me. Is that not right?
My Vindictus model, yeah, you've seen him. It's amazing. Also, not tournament legal. I don't care if anybody calls me on that. I'm just gonna punch them. It's
Why
just
is he not
dumb
tournament legal?
because I've only
Tristan.
used the head and the arm. So I use the sword arm from Vindictus and the head from Vindictus on the
The rest of it is Tristan's Kickstarter model.
on this. No, not the Kickstarter, the regular one.
The regular one?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a Kickstarter.
The regular one, he has his hands stuck up in the air, which I bent down all the fingers except for the middle finger. So he's just flipping off your fucking opponent like, fuck you.
He looks like a Fabergé egg. I knew it
He
was
is.
Tristan.
Everybody should. He's awesome. Yeah.
It's alright.
He said, you know, he's Tristan. I actually meant Vindictus. I hate you. But I can't wait for somebody to really, really bitch about one of these conversions. If you don't know what that model is, you're being an asshole or you're dumb. One of them, I don't care what you think. The other one, I'll just hit you. I don't care.
I feel like calling the judge every time we play.
Do it. You realize Kim was our judge and she loves me.
She loves you, but
Yeah, she'll let me get away
but
with
she's
anything.
Kim, so if I argue enough, she'll let
She'll let me get away with anything.
Now then, do you think my Nomad would be tournament legal?
Tell me about this Nomad.
The one that's all armored up.
Yeah.
How many nomads is it made out of?
3.
Then yes.
To be fair, I just took the chassis from the plastic and ground it all down to the torso. And just remade armor plates.
Oh my god.
Out of mostly green stuff.
And plastic art.
No, his merc jacks look pretty sweet.
Yeah, from what
Unfortunately, they're 5 years in the making, so we're yet to see him play with them.
4.
my Fire Salvation
Only
is
4.
probably my most
4
expensive
years.
mod ever, just because of the number of models that I took off of it to make him.
Your Fire of Salvation?
Yeah.
You know there's a
I-
model for that, right?
Yeah, I owned it.
Okay. Did you throw it away?
No, I still have all the bits.
Okay. Can I have... I'm missing a piece. I need that.
Which piece?
It's one of the little mace parts.
No, I have all those on my model.
Yeah, can I have it?
I'm going to say no.
Damn it.
You should use one of the regular maces. It looks better anyway.
No, it doesn't. You're wrong.
That's not true.
Your opinion is invalid because it's bad.
Never been true. My Fire Salvation model, I used a plastic Crusader kit. I used the Fire Salvation kit. I used the Scourge of Heresy kit. And I used the,
Didn't you also use Scourge of Heresy to make your avatar?
no. Well, I used the sword, yes.
Okay.
I used to use the head for it, but I redid that.
So, what is wrong with Menoth right now?
Well, that's a valid
Is there
point.
anything wrong? Is it that most of what they do is they say you can't do what you normally do, and that's their shtick? I mean,
I've noticed that originally my opinion was Menoth was just a bunch of whiners because almost every fucking warrior model in their army is a fucking weapon master. But then I noticed that after playing them, a lot of their guys are weapon masters, but their base power never goes above 12, which does run into a problem.
Well, I think when you're playing Menoth, things can go extraordinarily your way, or when those dice rolls from being weapon masters or from fires aren't going your way. I mean, you can... you can't really try and blame your game on dice, but a lot of times, and when you're playing Menoth, you're rolling more dice. You're rolling to see if the fire stays there. You're rolling that extra die for the weapon master damage roll. And that can be awesome. And there are averages and there are statistics out the door. But sometimes you're going to get a game where you're going to get a ton of ones. So your power 12 weapon masters are charging, or things. Or your power 11 weapon masters are charging things, rolling a 1 with their extra die on 3 attacks. And you're not getting that explosive damage that you're expecting, or that you need in order to clinch that. Or a lot of your fires going out. And the thing is, that's realistically, this is just fluff-wise. Try and play it from this way. Sometimes God's a finicky thing, but it's true.
I don't know that is necessarily why. Like, dice can be attributed to a lot of games if you let it, but most of the time there's a reason behind it. I feel like a lot of newer Menoth players don't realize that they're trying to play for late game when they're playing the game. Because Menoth is a late game faction. They need to play for turns 4, 5, and 6. As where, a lot of Crix players will try and, they're basically turn 3 is their big turn where they really decide the game. It's like Menoth wants to get past those turns to the points where they can win the game. What do you think?
what do you think they win on 4, 5, and 6?
I feel like with their denial, you can't target me with spells, can't shoot me, stuff like that. I feel like their entire purpose is to outlast their opponent.
Just to buy that time.
They don't have the Alpha Strike potential, really. I mean, some extremes of their faction can, but for the most part, they're a sit-back-and-wait army. It's like, I'm going to try and slowly put the game in my favor over time, and as long as I play exactly correctly, I can make that happen. So they struggle against the armies that naturally do that. So like Bradigus and like Meat Mountain, things like that naturally want to play for late game. They don't really have an answer to because they're doing their same battle plan.
Well, Menoth still has game against those armies, though.
They have some.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've never felt playing Menoth against another faction that I just had nothing on my table. I've never felt that way. I've never felt that if I would have played differently or done something differently that I wouldn't have had a better game when I do lose against anybody.
Do you always feel like it was a play mistake, not an army problem?
Yeah, I mean, I've never felt like that my army was outclassed, or that my list was completely outclassed, or that my faction was outclassed by another faction. I've never had Menoth faction envy. I mean, I've heard people faction jump a ton that have been playing a hell of a lot less than me. Maybe they get bored, maybe they want something else, but I have never in my life looked at another faction and been like, God, why don't I have that? And it's not that I don't want some things. Like, I think a hunter would be awesome. I mean, I do get a little bit jealous of Bane Knights, but...
So, Max, as a Crix player, do you feel like your army is trying to win on a specific point in the game? Or does it really matter at all?
Your caster.
Well, that's always true, but you feel
Depends
it.
what you decide you're playing for at the beginning of the game. I always feel like it's if you think your best chance is scenario, and depending on your caster, if you're playing Denegar 2, you're going to try to make that plan happen fast.
It
So
feels...
it's going to be, my plan is, if everything goes correctly, I win on turn 3.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's not the majority of the plans in the faction? Like everyone's game plan is...
But the game plan has to change sometimes. Depending on your caster, so you can play a caster that can play everything. So I can play, let's just say Denegar 1, because she can play Assassination, she can play Scenario, she can play Attrition. Maybe the other army's fast, and it's fast enough that you're not going to be able to play the Scenario for the quick win, which obviously Denegar 2 is better at because they don't move, but maybe they're fast enough that they just get to the zone. They have their Styxis Raider style unit that you cannot keep out, period.
Mm-hmm.
You have to play Attrition, so you can play for the late game. I mean, the Crix is all about getting shaved off as they come in anyways. The army never gets there intact. If it does, they'd probably be the most broken faction in the game. They're almost impossible to beat if you're going to try to melee slug them out.
Okay.
That's because they're used to taking that damage, you're saying?
That's the way their army plays.
Yeah, I think he's saying the army is designed around the acceptance of they're going to take heavy attrition on the way in. And then they're going to have to win with the 60% of their army they have remaining.
I wonder if that means certain matchups happen a certain way then.
Well, it's definitely designed like paper like scissors effect between the factions. Like, Signar's supposed to have a slight advantage against Crix, and Crix is supposed to have a slight advantage versus like Trolls and maybe even Khador, the armor factions.
Trolls has got enough guns now.
True. I do agree that Trolls can build an anti-Crix list that works for sure. Like, any gun faction is supposed to have a slight advantage over a melee faction. But then, it's going to come on the back end when the melee army gets you.
The shit out of...
Well, I follow that logic. I'm just curious as to whether or not you could say that a faction like that would... Like, okay, so if 60% of Crix can clinch a game against another force, if you were to take that force against some army that can't shave off losses, that doesn't have guns, that hell brings no guns for some reason, has no gun line...
Then you're in an advantage matchup.
Okay. But is that true across the board, though?
No, but Crix infantry is better than a lot of infantry in the game.
That's true.
They're better problem solvers in general. Like, they have the ability to answer armor and defense most of the time. Not necessarily so much on the defense side, but
Their caster usually brings something
Right.
that's going to fix defense.
where it's like if I bring a Menoth infantry horde and I shove it into a Crix army, like, how often should you expect that just to succeed if the player skill is identical and dice are identical? Like,
If you're playing all bastions or all incinerators or whatever, not errants.
right.
So there's no range 10 guns shooting me on the way in and sandpapering off the army. In the Bane Knight unit is now 10 dudes charging you instead of 6.
Well, if bastions get charged by Bane Knights, the bastions are all dead.
Right.
Like, that's just...
Yeah, that is
That's
true.
what I'm saying. Now, if there are only 2 bastions, or 2 Bane Knights get to charge the bastions because the front 4 died, now there's only 2 in range after Vengeance, you don't take near the damage, and it makes it an even game. If I charge you 10 Bane Knights, that whole unit of bastions is gone.
I feel like that's... I mean...
So you're saying that if the average Crix army gets to you with 0 casualties, that you're not at a disadvantage?
Well, no, my curiosity is whether or not that's a really, really big blanket statement.
I think that's the concept behind the design of the army.
Okay, so
Yeah.
could you not play, for example, a Signar army with no guns then?
You could,
can.
but I think you'd be disadvantaged
It's
against
also
an
harder.
army that was designed to play
They
without...
they don't have very many units without guns. I mean, you got Sword Knights, you have Storm Blades or whatever they are, but they also have weapon attachments that are guns.
Storm Guard, I believe, have no guns, but
They
I'm not
don't.
100% on that.
Yeah, the whole
Precursor
point of
Knights.
Signar is shooting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the strong point of their faction, is they're
That's
good at shooting.
what
They
the
have
name
some melee.
stands for 'em.
Even their melee beater jack has a gun.
Ironclad?
Stormclad.
Stormclad.
Oh.
Come on, man. Keep up.
Standards, bro.
But I mean, that's the concept. Like, that's in almost
shoots with
every
his flying
tabletop game, is that some armies are better at some... Like, if you try and beat someone at their own game, you're naturally going to be disadvantaged.
I mean, you gotta look at, like, infantry guns that Crix has. Literally, it's pretty much a mercenary unit. And the other guns are other mercenary units. They're shitty guns at that point, because they're pirates. But otherwise, guns in the faction are Revenant Crew of the Adamantus, Solos, and the Black Ogre and Boarding Party.
And mercenaries, which a lot of factions have access to.
He started with the mercenary.
Right.
Well, that's because that's really the only unit Crix uses that gets actual guns is Selena. And that's it.
Okay, so...
And they're retardedly good with Denegra.
What other factions have that where do the factions fit into that spectrum then? Because if we're going to talk about that spectrum...
So Signar is the ranged heavy faction.
So if you never get into melee with Signar, they should just win.
Yeah, if you don't get to melee with an average Signar force, the Signar force is extremely advantaged.
And so, like, if we're just looking at, like, Warmachine factions, Khador is a combined arms faction, but their casters are the fulcrum that powers their army. Whereas...
I think that's pretty much why they weren't given a Jack Marshall.
Retribution is still a combined arms faction.
Yeah.
Khador has tons of Jack Marshalls.
Not Jack Marshall, Arknotes.
Okay, yes. Yeah. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Retribution is a combined arms faction from an infantry standpoint as well, but their troops are self-sufficient.
Yes.
Their casters don't do the work that the Khador
The
casters
fulcrum
do.
is the infantry itself. As where, like, Signar is a ranged faction with the fulcrum being their caster. Their caster dramatically changes the army based on who's leading it. Where Khador is the same, but it's a combined arms side. And then Crix is mostly an infantry fulcrum. But, I mean, they're kind of interesting because their casters are still very powerful. And so it's kind of like a 50-50 split between the infantry and the caster.
They're also really the only faction that just... What their casters do is debuff.
Right.
They don't do a whole lot of supporting their armies.
And then Mercenaries has neither caster nor infantry being the fulcrum. It's Thor.
It's like, you brought Thor, right? Gorman. Okay. Where's Eris? Okay, got it.
Yeah, really they're solos of the fulcrum. That's the funny part.
Where's Iron Holt? Oh, you don't own her. Okay, got it. Because you only play Mercs. Got it. All right, where does Menoth fit on that spectrum then?
Menoth would probably be... They're hard to put in there.
Originally, they were melee-centric.
Yeah, originally they were melee, but then their range became good enough that they could... They're a combined arms faction for sure.
They're combined arms, but they're also the most expensive infantry faction, I think, probably.
Actually, they do have a lot of cheap units. The problem is their support bloat. They have a lot of support.
They're like the... Kind of sort of like the trolls of...
Yes, definitely.
Warmachine.
Without the armor skew.
I think...
Okay.
I feel
they
like
were supposed to be more the Jack...
They're definitely...
They are, because their casters are completely different. They're all based around... I mean, none of their casters are inherently powerful, what they do. They just support their army. It's kind of a Khador thing, but Khador casters are much more badass than any of the Menoth casters ever would be in melee, with the exception of, like, Resnick, but
the fulcrum
Resnick.
The fulcrum has probably shifted more towards the support than the caster itself. Where Khador casters support their army very hard because Khador naturally has almost no support.
You know one thing that I consider every Menoth caster to be for their army?
Focus battery?
No, they're the flavor of your army.
That's true. They do slightly
Your army
turn
is the meat
it.
and potatoes. Now more so, it's like, you know about combined arms faction? Okay, there's only one unit in all.
That's combined.
That's combined. Well, that can do both.
Not true.
Okay, so Khador is the combined arms faction. What is the combined arms unit in Khador?
Winter Guard infantry. It's a gun. It's a gun.
It's a gun unit that has practically no melee ability.
That's true.
Well, I was just going to say, we say one, but technically Zealots would be a second unit that's a gun and melee unit.
It's really
It's a pretty
Errants,
weak
but
gun,
Zealots...
but yes, I agree. Errants are really the only combined arms unit in the faction.
Zealots are better than Winter Guard infantry.
But they're in, 60% of the lists.
True. Right. But, the answer is Nis Hunters in their character mercenary option.
He's exactly right, though.
Right.
I mean, without the support and then the caster and Khador, what is Winter Guard infantry? It's 12, 13 troops that just blow off the table.
Yeah, that fucking suck. I mean, if you add no support to that unit, they're garbage. It's all the things that they can buff that unit
Whereas
to.
Errants, no, they're not amazing, but 12-15 is a better stat line.
It's the same situation,
12-16.
Okay, I'm sorry. Even better.
12-16 mean to spell.
Nat 7, Rat 6.
Well, yeah, errants, the generic unit of errants is pretty not good until you add the UA.
That's the
No,
way I see.
I-
That's why I see them as with elite troops. I
Right.
mean, that's what their troops are. They're elite comparatively. Because I mean,
Errants
most of
are-
your troops are base Mat 7.
Errants are really good. I mean, the thing is,
But you don't
they
have the
truly
option of
shine.
taking an 8-point unit of errants. You have to take a 14-point unit of errants.
It's true.
Because by the time you add in the UA, the solo,
But they shine
the
so-
book,
No, they're
Rupert.
great. You're
This
not
is-
going to
okay.
get me to tell you that
No, what
they're
I'm saying
not
is
great.
about Errants are Errants. Most Menoth troops, most Menoth models, most Menoth builds at all. Everything shines. It has to shine.
It's all slightly above average, and the support takes it to straight above average. But nothing gets to the extreme or the superior level. In
You don't think
Menoth.
so?
I don't feel like it does.
I don't know. I feel like once you take the full errant boat, the full errant boat is just astonishing across the board.
Not
There are
without a
some
caster that also supports it.
We're including that.
But you're investing 50% of your list into your errants, which gives your opponent the option if you can kill errants.
that
Now it gets to the point where
it's never that easy.
You say that.
No,
but
I know that. No,
You
I
say that.
I do know that.
I have purged a full boat of errants.
Everybody has, okay?
I'm just
Everybody
saying-
has done something to remove errants from the table. That happens. But when
Regardless
that
of-
happens, you remember when it happens.
regardless of how good you make that single unit of errants, it's still a single unit of
Okay.
errants. It has a ceiling that it can ever reach.
Absolutely, but that's everything in the game.
I agree.
Okay.
yeah.
But
Now,
the thing is that you don't have the option to not do that.
that's what I know. What I'm saying is, your caster determines a flavor, and everything you have gets shined by your support, and it gets turned in a certain direction by your caster, and then it shines. That's what everything does. Double units of bastions. Bastions on their own are trash. They are.
I would 100%.
Like
agree.
bastions on their own are just.
I think zealots on their own are trash.
Yeah. I mean that's. No, I honestly feel like zealots on their own are
I feel like zealots have a
Concept
very
level.
low ceiling on what they can do without your
Without
opponent
without
not
the
knowing.
mini feat, that unit wouldn't be.
even with the mini feat.
Well, I mean, even with the mini feat, there's a ceiling to what they can do unless they're just in the perfect matchup.
No, there is a ceiling to what they can do, but
And-
they are borderline not playable without that fucking UA.
No, I would
agree.
agree. Yeah, they
Well,
would
if you
just die
take-
in droves.
There's no reason to not take the UA. There just isn't.
The only way to play them
There's
without
only
the
re-
UA.
There's no way to play them
is
without
take,
it,
like,
unless
3
they're-
max
unless they're-
units.
Unless they're sitting around Vindictus to be sacked pawn targets.
That
Yeah.
would be
It's the only time to play them without the UA.
Yeah.
and even then it's not worth it. Just take the UA. it's worth it. But what I'm saying is, okay, things like that, like all of the metal units, you could say that they're superior. I think that they're all I par or subpar until
I
you
personally
start
think
adding the support to shine them.
I just
Bring out the
Menoth
caster.
is supposed to be the Jack faction, honestly.
They were originally supposed to be. Now it's obviously
I mean,
convergence.
that's
but
why you have
Choir.
Choir. That's why you have choir. That's why you have reckoners, which are probably the closest thing to being
Okay.
Ravagore level for their point cost.
And that's why they only just now got a Jack Marshall.
Okay.
That
I don't
does
think
not-
they ever
Let's-
wanted a
Let's
Jack
take
Marshall.
a step back here because we're.
I mean, how often do you see him used as a Jack Marshall? You don't.
I have seen him once, and that was by a person that had
Does he
just
have a
bought the
drive?
model.
no.
He has Iron Wall, which is cool,
You-
but it just
you-
keeps him safe.
Yeah,
Jack Marshalling's not necessary with their faction because they can support a bunch of Jacks. But
exactly.
Right.
I-
I
when
think
I-
that's
when-
why they're considered.
I don't think they're okay. People say that. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's
I
true.
don't think you have to play them that
Well,
way.
no, I don't think
that's
that's
obvious.
I don't think that's the best way. I don't even think that's a good way to play them. There are some skews where you can play a bunch of Jacks, and you can. They have access to a ton of focus, and you can actually support a bunch of
But
Jacks.
can't you legitimately, with almost every caster, play a boat of Jacks and play like your errant boat plus zealots and be fine?
Yeah, the
With 20
concept.
points worth of infantry and then
Be
everything
fine and
else?
be good are two different things.
I would say good.
Okay, let's start extrapolating the cost of all these things.
The problem is that
I'm not
they're
saying it
taking.
doesn't cost points.
The
Well,
problem
no,
is
it's
they're
beyond-
taking 10 points of support in almost every list they play, if not more.
Well, you bring up a Reckoner, okay? So
Sure, it's a problem, but
every Reckoner costs
Right.
8 points. A Reckoner costing 8 points, and you give every Reckoner their own vassal. Now they're 10 points. Then you put the choir tax on top of them, now they're all 11 points. And you're like, well, okay, in Legion, they pay that much for Beasts, right? Legions
But
get
it
a
can
hell of a
boost
lot
on
more
its
work
own.
done, or they get a hell of a lot
Absolutely.
more work done, and on top of that, you pull all the fury off of them, and they all just operate independently all game long. This is a Warmachine faction. They don't do that. And even if you have a ton of focus, you're not giving it out to them.
That's a negative of the focus mechanic. I mean, you can't.
Well, you have to include that because
what
that's
we're
part of the
stuck
game.
with.
I know, that's why
That's why the Reckoner hits harder, and has things like Ashen Veil, and he's cheaper.
he's
That's
not
why.
cheaper.
Well, base, he hits harder base. Without
is he?
Choir, he's the same rat.
Let's put him up
base.
against a Carnivian then.
Well, Carnelian is 11 points, which is your supported.
Well, he
reckoner.
just said he's cheaper, so yes, I am cheaper, and I don't hit harder. PS
If
17.
you were going into a Ravagore,
Okay,
you would hit
well,
harder, 100%.
I'm comparing apples to apples because I see a range jack versus a range beast. So I'm saying Ravagore versus, and it's not even apples to apples. I'm just saying I'm trying to compare a range beast versus a range jack.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, to be fair, it's a combined arms jack. It's
It
one
is.
of their best melee jacks, in addition to being their
The
best.
Ravagore's gun is a lot better. Ravagore's gun is a lot better.
There's no
It is
question,
better.
but
Okay.
the Ravagore doesn't have access to passage
That's true.
or enliven
That's
or
true.
battle.
Shadow
Like, there's a lot of.
I mean, that's true.
To be
But you're
fair, that
paying
is
for
one
all
of the
those,
things.
though. It's like
I don't disagree with
Okay.
you,
You can take
but
Thyron off
even
the table.
buying its own unit of Choir for a single Reckoner, you're as expensive as a Ravagore.
But you don't do that. Then you take the vassals,
Okay,
and then your casters spending their focus on doing it.
Well,
I do understand
But
that.
you're also taking out, if you're going to just compare points, you're also taking out that, they just get to strip all that fury. They had to pay for that shepherd,
Yes,
so that adds
that's a
points
point.
to them.
It's the same points.
It's okay. It's just the way the
Two
mechanic works.
Ravagores and
No,
two Shepherds is the same as two
absolutely.
Reckoners, two Vassals, and a unit of Choir.
Absolutely,
understand.
the mechanic is different, and that's why you can't play 5 Reckoners and win the game, but you can play 5 Ravagores and have a chance at winning the game.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Warmachine, even if they're supposed to be playing a Jack Heavy faction, like the two casters I like to play Jack Heavy are going to be Feora 2 and Kraos 3, and I like to run 3 heavies with each one of those lists. I think it's awesome. I enjoy the hell out of it. It's great and it's fun to do, and it can happen.
There's
it's such an
literally,
awkward
like, one
skew.
list I can play 3 heavies in Crix, and it's Morton Abra. I mean,
Well, Crix is so much of an infantry skew, though. I mean, it is. Now, is Menoth more able
but
to
isn't
effectively use
that
Jacks?
Jack skewing when nobody else plays more than a single heavy if you're playing 3? Whether or not you feel like it's skewing, because it's not skewing as much as an infantry heavy does. Or I'm screwing things up because Brandon's doing stupid
He's pointing.
shit.
You need this? Well, okay. I understand what you're saying. I don't feel like the true way. Okay, when you say Jack spam, I think of beast spam.
Right.
Okay.
And it's not. It
Okay.
can't be the same.
So the
because focus mechanic
terminology is
doesn't
what
work.
we're disagreeing on then, because running 3 heavies with Menoth is completely acceptable. Fine, you can do it, and it's a good idea.
And
sometimes.
that's 50% of your army.
That's solid.
You're looking at
Whereas if you run 3 heavies in a war machine in a hordes army, that's not beast heavy.
That's every day.
Yeah, there's no reason. Okay,
Because I have to be able to.
so we
generate the
agree
fury.
then. That's fine. I think that's fine. Okay, I was thinking you were trying to run
Right.
5,
I'm not
6
saying
heavies.
you can't because
No.
the focus mechanic. The only faction that can is Convergence because it's the closest thing focus wise to.
They can
Here.
practically play without Warcaster and run 4 heavies.
Yeah, it's just stupid amounts of focus recursion. That's a dumb
I
faction.
mean, well, it's
No,
it's
it's
actually
awesome.
just a cool idea.
dumb.
It's a cool idea to still be weaker than what Fury is, but put it closer.
I don't know that it's weaker than Fury. I think it's better than the Fury mechanic. Of the games I've played, it seems stronger. Because literally
You don't get to spend as much. Your caster still has
Well,
to allocate some.
to be fair, depending on what caster you're playing, but like Syntherian in tier, you don't have to spend focus on your caster ever to fuel your jacks. Ever. And you can easily run 5 heavies. Like, it's not an issue. It's silly how stupid the induction plus corollary is. Like, I spend 18 focus on turn 1. Like, most Hordes armies can't do that.
You're counting it up because you get to put out all your upkeeps for free.
No, well, it's 1 less, but even without that bonus, I'm still spending more Fury than your average Hordes list can.
More focus than your average Swift Fury. Okay, that's interesting and all. Once again, I think
Aren't you though? I mean, like, if I have 3 heavies forced to max and then I spend my 7 off my caster,
But that's not what most
Spent
Hordes lists
19
are
that
doing.
turn.
But they're not spending the max. They're spending like 2 each most of the time.
Scorn goes super hot a lot and then pulls it off.
I agree that they can, but I don't feel like that's what you're doing. Like, you can rile them to 4 and then remove it, but you're not really doing anything with that Fury other than like running.
I feel like
rush.
lots of people, I mean,
I feel like if you're
Lilith 2 spends like 22 focus on turn 2.
on the
Excuse
feature and
me.
they do way overspend, I absolutely agree. And they probably hit the huge spike that a lot of armies can't. But they usually pay for it next turn.
That's the thing, is that they still have the ability to go higher than you do.
No, I agree.
And that's why it's still a better mechanic than what you have. Now, they don't get to do it with no penalty, which maybe evens it out.
I feel like
I run into the penalty of, I now have to make a frenzy check.
possibly.
Possibly. But
I think if you average it out, convergence might be better than hordes in general. If you're taking into account like the circle players that usually only rile for like maybe 5 or 8 on turn 1 or 2 or even 3, it's like unless they're double primaling stalkers and sending them both in and maxing them out, then they're not really spending that much. And then trolls are the same way. They rarely spend fury unless they're doing a gun line. No. But obviously convergence was meant to see how far they could push the focus mechanic.
Well, do you feel like it actually got to the point where it's somewhat broken now? Because
I don't feel it's broken because if you look at their jacks, they're really not that impressive.
well, I'm talking about the mechanic.
Right.
Is the mechanic broken?
It's not about the mechanic, it's about how it uses it. Like, a focus on...
If you were to put the corollary and that focus mechanic into Khador, would it be different?
It would absolutely be different, but at the same time, they have speed 4 jacks and most of them don't have reach, so there's a limit there too. If you were to say put the corollary into Menoth, I would say there's a problem. If you were to give the corollary to Menoth, Sevi 1 could run 3 or 4 Reckoners and then still cast 2 Ashes Dashes every turn. And that would be a problem. That's too much offensive output for 8 focus.
I disagree.
Are you disagreeing because you want Menoth to be broken, or are you disagreeing because that's wrong?
I just want that to happen.
Okay.
to be fair, I'll take the corollary and critics too.
I think it'd be interesting to see
More
that
neighbor
happen.
would love her some corollary.
I didn't even use the focus part, I just used the extended control range on Denegra.
Oh, that's horrifying.
And that's the thing, like, some people try and compare small parts of, like, oh my god, the Squire's broken. It's like, well, yeah, when you compare it to a War Dog, it's broken. Like, you have to compare it to balanced things. Like, clearly Signar was meant to have a better Warlock attachment than Khador was. Like, it's, or Warcaster, but it's clearly not meant to be the same thing.
They both have Silas.
True. This is...
You know, it'd be kind of awesome if Menoth had a Warcaster attachment that wasn't Hierophant. Hierophant's good, I'm not going to bitch
I
about
was
him.
about to say, I was like, should you say you don't want to take the Hierophant in
Do they
your
have
list?
any casters that already have an attachment?
Khador?
No.
Menoth?
I don't think they
No.
do.
No.
No.
We
I don't
don't.
think so.
Kirk just has a shitty old Scarlock.
That's so stupid, too. That model's dumb.
It's pretty good.
It's
Now they have plenty of
You
models
say it's
with
pretty
other
good.
models
It's
on the
pretty good.
base.
That model is dumb.
Also, to be fair, Corollary is not Warcaster attachment. It's a jack.
it's
Yeah.
a Warjack.
It's not an attachment.
It's so stupid.
It's like, yeah, character jack.
So if they ever came out with another attachment, you could take it too.
The corollary is not a character, is it?
No.
No, they don't have a character in their faction other than Warcasters.
Thank God.
Yeah, because all of their tier lists are like non-caster Warjack or non-character Warjacks, and you're like, oh, sweet, so Warjacks.
I just have a hard on for disliking Convergence, actually.
That's fine.
I also think that the Behemoth should not be a character. They made 4 of them. Come on.
Did they really?
Yeah, they made 4. And then they stopped making it because it was ridiculously overcosted for what they were getting. And then they made the
And it
Conquest.
killed 7 small villages.
No, to be fair, they just pulled
to
the
steal all
conquest
their
out of
coal to run
mothball.
it for a day.
Brandon,
It's more like a week.
they didn't make the conquest. They just pulled it out of mothball.
It was never made, ever. No one ever made that.
Well, previously it was made.
Right. And then they made the Behemoth, and they're like, this is ridiculous. We're spending way too much money per jack. And they're like, let's just pull the 30 fucking conquests out of storage.
I love how good the Behemoth is, and I think his stats and rules are why he's a character. I hate the fact he's just not big enough. Like, whenever I look at the fucking model, it's like, that's as big as a goddamn Hammersmith, or that's as big as a fucking Centurion. That
Bigger
model,
than that.
it's not.
It
Look
is
at
bigger
it.
than that.
Look at the fucking model
Give me
side
a
by side.
Hammersmith.
To be
Or
fair,
Centurion.
it's as big as it could have gotten on that 1 foot.
That's true.
That one weak
It's a
ass
huge
ankle
fucking
joint.
war.
Behemoth's bigger than that.
Hardly.
It is bigger than that. It's not bigger than the spear. The spear is fucking enormous.
It's so unimpressive. Like, when I hear the Behemoth and how much of a fucking thing, I look at it, it's like, okay, it's a chunk of metal.
Or resin.
Where's our extreme behemoth?
It shouldn't be resin.
Ryan has it. And it's still not painted. Blame Ryan.
No. An actual extreme behemoth.
Oh, I don't know.
Not some stupid conversion.
Yeah. Not some dumb conversion some dumb guy made.
Yeah.
Not that.
Alright, anyways.
So Convergence sucks.
Convergence sucks. Crix is bad. Menoth should be played more.
Yeah, it should.
I think we got
That's what
there.
we're getting out of this so far.
Now, what about mercenaries?
Mercenaries are also bad.
Yeah.
Except for Thor, he's pretty solid.
Can be kind of interesting to think of.
And that Shay.
And Shay.
Yeah.
I kind of want to play Shay now that most of my pirates are painted.
What's the best 5 points in Menoth you can add to a list to finish it out?
Gravis.
I agree with Max so much.
Yeah.
I know it's not the right answer.
Okay,
I know
so
it's
how about
not.
this?
Whoa,
But
Hold
wanna
on,
say
I
yes
have
to
an
it.
answer.
You add an exemplar for 5 points. You win.
Yes.
Vilman and Gorman.
You don't need paladins.
You don't need paladins. Vilmon is always
Vilman's
worth 3
beyond
points.
Paladin.
He's always worth 9 points. He's always worth 3 points. Matt 9, reach, speed 6,
How do you only
PS
have 8?
15. He's
No, he's
Matt 9.
Regular Paladins are Matt 8.
There's so many Matt 8 things in fucking Menoth.
And Vilman has is it Vilman has auto fire and the other Paladins have crit
No,
fire?
Vilmon doesn't have fire.
That's
at
right.
all.
He loses crit fire and just is a badass.
Yes.
His reach.
Yes.
That's right. I feel like normal Paladin should have reach.
I agree.
To be fair, I think Menoth is the faction of making reach things look like they don't have reach
That's true.
to lure your opponents into a false sense of security.
Okay, so 5 points. Go around. We're going to go around the table and everybody pick what 5 points they would put in. If you have 45 points of Menoth and you're like, I got to get listed to 50.
Regardless of what I've already taken, I need to spend 5 more points.
Yes.
Are we assuming that some things are already auto-included?
Just what best 5 points in the faction?
Then I would have to say Vilman Inquire.
Vilmon acquire. Okay.
If it was exactly 5
I'm
points,
going to go ahead and be a dick here and just go back on something I just said. We're going
go back and say this. Okay.
We're going to go ahead and just assume that every Menoth player has already put Choir in their list
Okay.
or decided not to put Choir in the list at this point.
Does that include vassals? Because then
Okay.
it's going to be Vassal and Vilman.
Okay, so always just another vassal would be worthwhile, even if you're running 1 jack.
Well, even 2 vassals, 1 jack still has value, but I do agree a lot of people to put 2 vassals on their list when they don't need it.
Okay. So Vilmon on a 2-point solo, whether it be a vassal or Gorman or something.
The most underrated 2 points is probably the Knight Exemplar, or the Exemplar Seneschal.
Errant? The exemplar Errant Seneschal?
No, just the Exemplar Seneschal for 3 points.
It's the Allegiant of the Fist. It's
And-
the most underrated 2
Yeah,
points.
probably that way. Those 2 models combined as 5 points are the most underrated for 5 points, but
Think so?
I would take Vilman and probably a Vassal, depending on my list. Or Choir, obviously, but we're assuming that's in there.
Okay. Max? Are you going to go with Gravis?
I'm going to go High Exemplar Tartarus and Rax.
What?
Lord Tartarus and Rax.
High Exemplar Tartarus.
Lord High Exemplar Tartarus Covenant.
It's a simple mod. He actually lets you...
He gives you -2 armor in spots where you need it, and +2 charge range.
For exemplar
and
models,
to hit.
which is very
Makes
helpful.
him Mat 9. I mean,
And every model he kills turns into a Bastion.
An exemplar.
Exemplar Bastion.
You know, he adds to an exemplar unit.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he can choose.
Any Exemplar,
If
yeah.
you were playing Cinerators, he could make a Cinerator.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I feel like he could make Vengers.
I'm making this model.
For every whelp I kill, I make a Venger.
I put money on Jeremy picking Voil as his
Would
model.
this not be good? I mean, you could then play
I'm done.
Vindictus with that,
You'd lose,
and
sir.
you get Speed 8 Bastions.
It's still not going to be good.
Holy shit, Speed 8 Bastions.
So, Jeremy,
Yes.
5 points. What would you add in?
Well, I probably already have 3 units of them, but Knight's Exemplar.
Why?
Because there are more exemplars.
It's always...
To be fair, a lot of people don't think about ever adding those in as the last 5 points.
Yeah.
And I did that with a couple lists, and it turned out pretty good.
They can earn
So he's
points.
going to come back with the book and some other 3 points at crap.
Book plus errors too, yo.
Actually, I'm really wanting daughters to be more than they are right now.
No,
I
Daughter's
know.
bad.
I know. I want them to, though.
No. I feel like Daughters are better with Holy Ward than Defender's Ward, and that just frustrates me. It's like, how is Holy Ward ever better than Defender's Ward?
You want to get even worse? How about Flamebringers? Flamebringers with Invulnerable Resolve is probably the best Flamebringers.
Because they don't break. That's why you just picked the new objective, bro.
Yeah.
They're not going to be anywhere near...
Or Vilman, who's like a Command 10 commander.
They're not going to be anywhere near anything.
Can my 5 points be a Reckoner?
No.
Not even in Resnick's tier.
Damn it.
I'm going to say a Repenter and Rax.
Devout, because you forgot to take one.
Even if you already have things, a Devout will earn its points. But I feel like a Repenter is something that's used to... People on the Menoth forums talk
What
about
if
how
you
good
just
they are.
played every model in your army with defensive rank? Could that be a thing?
I'm for this.
You could do that.
Because Devouts are FAU.
Yes.
And then you take 2 of the Bastions and
Why
Shells.
would you just take more Devouts?
Yeah. And then Vilman's basically a free strike. You just put him far enough forward, it's free strike.
Like, he's engaging their enemy.
Yeah, it's like, gonna forfeit movement action, be like the Arm 21 Incorporeal model.
Okay, Menoth players. Pro tip. 99% of the time your opponent will not know you're able to do this, so you can do this, okay?
This sounds shady as fuck.
We've done this for years and no one calls us on it, okay? Because they don't understand how it works 99% of the time. They don't get that we can do it.
What is it?
Have Vilmon walk up, be immune to anything that's not magical, okay? Mm-hmm. Have him get thrown by your adjudicator or something. No. Yeah, have him get thrown. Anywhere you want it to be to give him extra movement. Your opponents then will be like, fuck, how did I get rid of him? He's immune to anything. And they will literally forget that a moment ago you threw him. And if they try and throw him, you're like, hey, he's immune to anything that's not magical. And they won't question that you just did it.
How many times has this actually worked for you in a game? Despite the fact that you're just blatantly cheating.
Who are you playing against?
Have you met the people we have around here? Are you kidding me? This has gone on for years.
Spence, I think we need to keep Cheatgate under the table. Let's just keep that under the table.
Don't forget to enliven your adjudicator.
Yes, also enliven the adjudicator.
Enliven
which
your
is legal.
Vilmon.
Also, fear of God, the enemy Getorix.
Damn it! No, I'm actually very serious about that. Don't do that because it's against the rules, so if you catch somebody doing it, don't do it. But for years now, Menoth players have been doing that. They've been throwing
I've
Vilmon.
never even heard of that
It's
happening.
the funniest shit I've ever seen. People will bring it up.
No.
Yeah.
I think being knocked out by tramples is more prevalent than that.
I think that happens a lot.
I feel like we should rate Menoth on a scale of 1 to 12
Stuff it.
as the best faction.
Let's break out the list again.
No.
The list.
10 points.
Does anybody else want to shove
the
the Centurion into their eye socket?
Do we have the same stipulation of choirs already in the fucking list?
The simple things are already there.
The simple. So
Vessel
everything
Reckoner.
you. So you're saying as the most luxurious 5 points in the
whatever
faction.
the ancillary guy is, enliven
Vassal.
guy. Yeah,
Vassal and a Reckoner.
Yep. I just like Reckoners. I wish I could play more Stompy robots.
Well, I agree.
It's fun.
Whenever you put a Reckoner in, then they're also kind of. I told Brandon this is like a map picture for your whole army. That thing.
That's why I want to play Body and Soul, because I can play 1 or 2 heavies in that list and be fine.
Brandon, 10 points.
10 points in Menoth?
Mm-hmm.
The best 10 points in Menoth.
What would you just put in?
10 points is a weird point total in Menoth.
Go 9, go 12, go right around that point.
I feel like the correct answer is 5 Paladins in Harvey's tier list.
Shut up.
Be honest. Is mine correct?
I don't think it is.
I feel like it's correct.
Because you're only playing a tier list.
But I feel like that's still the best 10 points in Menoth.
God. Jeremy.
We're moving on.
Brandon's not allowed to make choices.
I would put in 10 exemplars.
So you'd put in 2 units
That's
of
50
Knight Exemplar
points.
Essentials.
Or a unit of errants.
A unit of errants is 8 points. Yeah.
Errants with UA? But we already assume they're in the list. Cause
No,
it's a
I'm
Menoth
not. I'm
list.
not.
Hey, whoa. If fucking vassals are in the
Here's
goddamn
thing.
list,
Here's the thing. I didn't go errants because
we
you only
assume they're
said
already
10
in.
points.
Yeah.
And I need more than 10 points to put the full errant unit.
That's true.
Well, no, because it's 8 and then 2. That's 10.
And where's the solo?
Yeah, you gotta get the solo in there too.
Okay.
You don't have to have the solo.
You don't have to, but
Okay,
Jesus
so
Christ,
Aaron-
it's
Let's be
off.
fucking honest. If you could give Hunter to a people within his command, you would.
And he's so good. Okay, so we'll just agree errants across the board.
Yes. Or errants.
I still think
You're not
my
gonna
answer
get
was
me
the
to
best.
argue. I think they might be the best unit in the game.
I think they might.
Really?
The strongest argument is that they're one of the few combined arms units that is in the argument for the best unit in the game. Because most like the Winter Guard infantry are not a combined arms unit. They can only shoot things. If they get into melee, they're pretty much fucked over.
Okay.
Retribution has combined arms unit, but it isn't near as good in melee.
Defenders warded, tough errants that are immune to knockdown with the UA and the solo are just yes.
Or if they have the Blood Hag, you give them Dirge Miss for defense 15 and cause terror.
Or you kill the fucking blood
Dude,
hag.
I used Dirge of Mist like a bad person the other day. I got 3 units to break with Dirge of Mist. It was amazing.
Brandon, you are a bad person.
I know,
It's the
it's
most
the
amazing
best.
feeling in the world.
Okay, but seriously,
Having a shitty game mechanic win you the game. It's the best feeling in the world.
yeah,
Yes.
it really is.
Yes.
I've never had
I mean,
that happen.
I
so-
feel that I feel the way every time I play against trolls. I feel the way every single time I see convergence on the table.
What do you play against in trolls that breaks?
It's not about. I'm not talking about fear at this point. You're talking about shitty mechanics. I feel like trolls have a shitty. No, not tough. Trolls. The fact that every one of their models can go anywhere on the table, be immune to everything you do, not be able to get killed, and then be like, oh, well, I'm going to just stumble around and still win the game. It's like, fuck you.
So I was playing a 35-point game against a Crix player at Daikon 3 years ago, and I charged Borka into his army, and he charged his entire army into Borka, and Borka took no damage, and I just started cackling in the background while he was trying to kill him. It was amazing. That game went for 4 hours.
I think time should have been called at some point.
No, it was just a pickup game.
I would have quit.
We were playing caster.
Time should have been called at some point.
Now, I eventually lost, but it literally took like 3.5 hours. It was just Borka versus his entire army. It's like Borka buys 2 attacks and kills 3 Bane Knights. Go ahead. It's like I had no other option.
Are errants always the answer?
No.
When are errants not the answer, Jeremy?
When you have more exemplars.
I would say when you get to about armor 19, that's when errants stop being the answer. I'm not kidding. Like look at their power. Like they really can't deal with anything over armor 19.
It's true. So as long as you're dealing with heavy armor, errants don't do their job.
Right, but they're not supposed to. That's not what errants do.
Okay.
They can deal pittance damage to armor 20 and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean it's limited the damage they can deal. Like if an arm 20 jack walks into them, they charge it back with like 3 or 4 guys, then they do like a handful of damage, and then will never do damage again probably before they all die. Like maybe some 1 or 2 points here and there, but
if your dice catch fire,
yeah, if you roll all 6s forever, then you have a decent chance.
I will say, however, I mean, if you want your dice to catch fire, you can always cast Ignite.
Can you just stop talking in general?
Want me to shut his mic off?
I would have been better. I feel like it would have been better if you just said, if you want your dice to catch fire, you can always get gasoline in a match.
I feel like my joke was two-sided, seeing as how one.
No,
you are
it was just bad.
Fire and Ignite.
But at least mine actually happens. If you ignite your models, the dice never catch fire because the models are ignited, not the dice.
I'm only agreeing with Max because he's technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Technically correct is the best kind of correct?
I think that's a line in his favorite show.
Whose line is it anyway?
No, freaking Parks and Recreation.
That's a show?
I don't think so. I mean, it probably is, but...
Bacon.
I like bacon.
Okay.
Max hates bacon because he's an American hater.
What do you use if they have
Americans?
that?
What?
What do they use if they have that then?
What do they use? What do you use if they have higher than armor 20 or a 19?
Yeah.
I would say you should use Iona and Holt, Gorman, and anything else that adds to damage.
A Warjack. Apply Warjack to face.
Yeah.
Like Ignite?
Like an ignited battle avatar.
Helps.
Ignited battle avatar, POW 23 should get it done. I'm just going to go with that.
What if there's a rust bomb involved?
That's POW 25.
What
and
if
if it's hard,
there's
it's
a
POW
blind
27.
bomb involved and your avatar can't move?
What if you're playing
That's
a
bad.
3-player game and somebody happened to put armor...
To be fair, you should just passage it and not put anything near him so he can't throw a bomb at
is
him.
Dark Shroud over there too?
You could Dark... Can they take Ragband?
No.
No.
So you're playing a 3-player
No.
game and they happen to have...
They
somebody standing next to your opponent's Bane
that
Girl.
doesn't work like that.
I think that actually all stacks up.
It might.
So are we at 29 now?
29 what?
Do we feel like the Harbinger, not the Harbinger, the Avatar could kill whatever that model was if it could hit?
Avatar can kill a lot of models.
But it only rolled 2 focus, so it sucks this turn.
And it still doesn't kill that thing that it's at PS 29 against.
So, but seriously,
10.
on a scale of 1 to 12, 12 being minions and 1 being whatever the best faction is, where would you put me now?
I'm not voting because I'm biased.
You have to.
I'm not voting, I'm
You have
biased.
to, and then we're
feel
going to tear your vote to pieces.
I feel like Menoth is probably within the top 3.
Really?
Yeah.
What's better than them?
Trolls.
And?
Give me a second.
Cephalics.
Yeah, Cephalix. No.
I honestly would have to say there are 5 or 6 races.
Telefics are not a
Right in the
faction.
middle.
I would
Probably.
absolutely agree they're not top 3.
I would.
I don't even know that they're. I just feel like they're middle. Although honestly, I would say that about most factions.
So by saying
Middle
they're
of the pack, with the exception of saying like I think trolls are a really good place at the moment, and I think circles in a stupid place because of one caster. They're good anyways. Don't get me wrong, but
Called it.
what?
I called Bradigus when he came out. I said that motherfucker was stupid.
well,
I agreed with everybody.
I don't honestly. I haven't seen them played enough, so
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people bitch. They were all
I
like,
just need to see it before I make final judgment on it. But everything I hear sounds bad.
I wouldn't be against saying
other
it
than
nerfed.
like those couple of factions, I feel like everything's pretty
So-
well off.
You're saying you could name 9 factions that are worse than Menoth?
I'm saying I could name 9 factions. I feel like Menoth has a solid enough game that Menoth should be able to win against them.
Well, it's not necessarily Menoth's game against them. It's the strength of the faction in overall whole.
Then I don't agree with the question, and I agree with Max.
Okay.
I feel like to say that any specific faction is better than 12 other factions is kind of a really,
But current place in the meta, or at least in the what's been released to this point, like the new Steamroller, things like that. You think Menoth is specifically strong right now? Because that's what you'd be saying by saying they're top 3.
Well, I think if you want to ask me that question, then I think I'm not qualified enough to answer that question because that doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm asking your opinion.
My opinion of it is right now trolls are going ruling the fucking world. They say Braddock is going to be a big fucking deal. I don't think it's going to be for quite a while. I think that's going to just steamroll out this whole year, and we'll see exactly what happens with it. But I think people are saying way too much about how big of a deal it's going to be. I think you're going to see a recursion of a couple older ideas, nothing huge and fancy and news coming out that people need to worry about right now.
Mm-hmm.
That we know of.
Yeah, that anybody's aware of.
Because we don't know shit about Reckoning for the most part. I mean, nothing game-breaking yet anyways.
I almost feel like the release of the Masters packet, saying specifically ADR, was not a coincidence when it came out composed to Bradigus. I think.
So I know this podcast has been really fucked up, but I want, as you guys as Menoth players, I want to know what you guys think of what objectives you actually consider useful.
Realistically, I would probably take Bunker, just so it'd be hard to shoot off the table. Because Menoth can already do an anti-gun line pretty well.
Instead of friendly mode. Too bad you can't passage it.
Well, it's not Warjack, but yeah. But I mean, having Impervious Flesh objective and having passage Warjacks could really just fuck over some lines.
You have plenty of focus, so you don't really need fuel.
No, but where's one thing I really
Amon's
like
the
about
only
fuel?
one that would benefit from fuel, really.
Fiora too.
That wouldn't be bad with fuel.
But really, only one of her jacks wants to charge most of the time.
Well, it's not about
That's still just
charging.
focus efficiency. But, yeah.
Focus efficiency, and the fact is, it can potentially put a fire out there. That's not what you're relying on. That's not why it's good, but it can.
I feel
happen.
like you can do all the things that
you can.
that fuel supply or fuel cache would give you, and you can't do the things that some of the other objectives offer. And you should go for the things that are impossible to achieve otherwise.
Like getting immune to blast damage on your caster.
Well, like Fiora specifically is a caster that's been known to lose on scenario. So taking Bunker reduces the odds of you losing a scenario because it makes your objective that much harder to kill. Against some lists, it doesn't matter because they're all melee or whatever. But
I feel like most times the objective does die to a melee attack.
I don't disagree, but making them kill it with
99% of the
melee,
time.
and it also lights them on fire when they hit it, it gives you some sort of edge.
Bunker doesn't do
Plasma
that.
Nimbus,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Fuel cache does that. But you can put, a passage
Bunker
Templar in
is-
front of the objective if you
The
really
Bunker
wanted
is-
to.
Or the Impervious Flesh in Valor, right?
Bunker, no, that's Valor is the effigy of Valor. Bunker is Impervious Flesh and Girded.
Oh, that's
Well, Impervious Flesh is the big part.
the only part.
I just feel
But
like
you
it's-
can put Zealots surrounding your objective and screening it, and that can protect it for a turn. Not being able to be shot off the board.
I just feel so. I mean, I understand it matters a lot, but it just feels like to me like that's not going to be a big enough sway. And the turn they get to put a couple extra damage points onto it are just going to make up for that. And it's just, I mean, the one turn where they need to, yes, it may slow them down just enough. So I see what you're saying. It's some advantage that's guaranteed to be on the table.
Sometimes you only need that one more.
I understand
turn.
what you're saying. It's some advantage that's guaranteed to be on the table, is what you're saying. Whereas a lot of the other ones don't fucking matter more often, is what you're saying.
It takes, for guns to shoot that down, it takes way too many activations of high quality, high impact guns to do it. So if that's your normal way of taking it down, it does change the game quite a bit. Because now the Stormwall takes 2 whole turns, spending 2 focus each turn to boost its big guns to shoot this down, and it maybe got it in 2 turns.
It makes a big difference when you're talking about scoring 3 or 4 points in a single turn. And if I can put a Vigilant or a Templar in the zone and contest that as well, he's getting 0 points for 1 turn as opposed to possibly 1 or 2. That can be a big swing.
I feel like it can't be that much better than them.
But also sometimes the objective contests the zone.
Menoth can't play Arcane Wonder. None of their casters
No,
want to be where those... I mean, there's obviously 2 scenarios where that objective is close to you, and you could get to it and use it. But otherwise, the other 4 scenarios, they're at the 50.
Right.
And they don't want to be there.
No, they don't.
I don't know. I feel like they're going to have an impact, but I feel like it's going to be more of a superfluous impact in the game. I feel like it's going to be...
I just think... that's what was my question, is do any of the Menoth casters really use any of those to their advantage? Because I do think it's better for some casters.
So let's be honest here. Ammo cache or whatever it is that boosts artillery. Sunburst Crew. Coming back.
With Sevi 1, that might be pretty legit.
Dude, Sunburst Crew with Sevi 1 with that objective, if you pull that off, it's coming up to boosted POW 9 blast damage. That's averaging a 20. That's killing shield wall troops.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
At range 16.
Mm-hmm. What shield wall troops aren't in the middle of the table right now? When the Sunburst Crew is.
What are you talking about? There's two scenarios where
That's
it's
true.
in your
We
deployment
divided up
zone.
the other way, so they didn't march on this zone. They were like, he has artillery. That's there. I'm
just
not
saying,
going to put those
The
troops there.
one time they run dwarfs at you and you blow up half their unit, it's going to be amazing.
You know what? How about fuel cache and Amon?
Fuel cache with Amon is obvious.
Just do that every
This is
game.
good. It's helpful.
I've only seen it played by someone who didn't know what they were doing, and it seemed pretty good then. So,
I think it's straight up retarded on Virus, too.
I was playing against a Legion player the other day. He picked fuel cache for his, and he's playing Beast Heavy.
Tell me he was playing Absolutia, too.
No. He was playing the big ugly one who's completely overrated.
overrated.
Does he have wings?
Yes.
Yes, he does.
But think of all those casters that have wings but don't have flight. Can't believe that guy said that.
Think of all those casters.
That blew my mind. He's like, yeah, like Terminus. I'm like, he has flight. And he's like, does he? I was like, name a caster that has wings and no flight. And he's like, Terminus. I'm like, Terminus has flight.
All the bad Harbinger models.
Yeah, all the bad Harbinger models.
Does Aurora have flight?
Yes. Damn. Because she has wings.
Oh, God.
Because she's an 8.
Hey, Spence, you want me to put your Harbinger model together? I'm going to convert it.
I'll just buy a new one.
I'll just buy a new one.
You know I will.
I also need some wings.
You need
Not
wings?
relevant. Totally separate
Got it.
projects.
You don't want this one, Pastor?
This is live.
So I'm talking over here quietly.
I figure worst case, if
Still
we've had
picking
some
it up.
good gems in this, we could at least pull out some chunks.
Yeah, I mean, this will be a good solid 5-minute podcast once we take out all the bullshit.
And make him edit it.
And they're all like,
That's fine.
Max hates black
Posted
people.
live.
We're not crippled system, Brandon.
Yeah, I know.
We're better with less fans.
We have all the fans.
I think everybody loves us.
I would like to thank all 2 of our fans for listening all this time.
You're welcome.
Myself and Spence.
Brandon,
Yeah.
Brandon is
We're awesome.
Yeah,
Power
fist
Twitch.
bump.
Yeah.
should do you?
Power of listeners.
I do listen to our podcast.
I do
Well,
too.
Just when I
It's
edit.
so bad.
I'm sorry.
I get a kick
Yeah.
out of it, too.
What? What are you guys talking about?
They don't listen to the podcast.
Fucking posers.
This has been Max.
Thank you for
HV
listening.
goes on forums.
Wait, I
I'm
was
gonna
gonna
just
say
do that from now on.
best 15 points in meta.
God damn it. Are we just going to get to 50 points eventually? Like, best 50 points. Play Harbinger.
But you aren't going to use choir or vassals or...
He's already in the list.
Yeah, they're already... but it's 50 points! Yeah, but like your warjack points.
15
like,
points. The best 15 points?
Yes, this is easy.
It probably is easier than I'm thinking.
Very easy.
3 units of Knights Exemplar Seneschals.
That's okay, you're saying that
9
wrong.
points.
That's sorry, 5 Knight Exemplar Seneschals.
Yes.
I meant 3 units of
3
Knights
Gravises.
Exemplars. 3 Gravises would be pretty solid. 15 points, I'm going to go with Avatar Choir Vassal.
You know what thing I think we should do for an episode, actually? And this would be actually kind of cool because it'll be a multiple faceted episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should go with each of us, and this is, you'll see exactly where I want to go with this, but each of us picks a tier list in any faction that we love and that we want to make work. And as opposed to talking about why it's bad, we try and actually do something with it.
Something unexplored or just something?
Something that, like, for example, I'll come up with mine and I'll decide, okay, this is what I want to
So
do.
like Trios 2 tier list, obviously it's been done a lot, but I
Yes.
like it for these reasons.
Yeah, and I'd like to do something with it. I
Okay.
want to make it work. You're talking about Body and Soul?
Xerxes 1, not Fist.
Oh, the other one with Venator attachments? That seems
I'm
like
sure
one of the
that's
more...
a trap, but god damn it sounds cool.
It seems like one of the more interesting tier lists in the game because it actually adds a weapon attachment to a unit.
20 inches up the board with 3 guns attached to it.
But they can't move.
Just turn 1.
But they can't move. It's a unit that gets to deploy 20 inches forward and can't move.
Just
I don't get
only turn 1.
But they can't move. I don't know why that's so funny.
I don't know.
Because you're drunk as hell.
Because they just
So?
shield
I'm sorry.
20
It's like, you read that tier list, you're like, clearly this is a joke. Like, someone wrote this online.
It's further they can get in shield wall.
Right.
Period.
Well, if you go second, they can walk 10, right? 10 plus 10, 20. No, they'd have to run, that's right. So you can shield wall, which is nice.
And press forward.
Alright, well, thank you for listening to episode 24.
Yeah,
I know
you're
we've been a
playing,
little
Chaotic.
scattered today, but, you
If
know,
you're playing Mac 2, 1, you can get them further than that.
Yeah.
Or actually, you get them the same if you go second.
Mhm.
With Mac 2, you get them further whether or not you go back.
That's true.
can you? Because they can't run Savage.
It was Savagery, press forward, advance 12.
Oh, press forward. I wasn't counting press forward.
And they'd be how deep in?
They could go
32?
22, yeah.
Wouldn't be much.
And they
It's
wouldn't be
actually
shield wall.
less still if you go first.
Well, second turn, that puts them at 32 inches.
Right, it's faster after the first turn. But the whole idea is you're playing a min unit so you get a freaking, 7-point unit that has 3 guns on it, but you can't see 'cause and they have ranked attacks, so it'll be through. And a shield wall through, so you have to come to them and kill them.
I actually kind of like it.
Anyway, if you haven't seen the
Easy to
Xerxes
kill
1
is the
tier list
problem.
that is not Fists of Halak, you should go read it. It's one of the more interesting tier lists.
It's probably not good.
We're not sure if it's good or not, but it's interesting. And maybe sometime on episode 26, we'll talk about tier lists more. So, thank you for listening. This has been Brandon.
And Spence.
Spence, what do you go by on the forums?
Age of Egos.
Okay, that's nice.
It's Jeremy.
Wait, that Max is looking at me with such evil eyes.
And this has been Max. Thanks.
Why does Max sound like Mickey Mouse?
Because that's Max. That's how he sounds. Everyone knows it. They listen to this podcast.
This is Max. I go by Age of Egos on the forums.
Yo, this is Max. I go by Max Attack.
I can tell you right now, my voice is as deep as you guys just made it sound.
It sounds like this.
My name is Max. I had a tracheotomy 3 days ago.
I do sound a lot more like Mickey Mouse.
Are we done?
No.
Hello.
This is Max. I go by the Age of Egos. How's the forums? Yes.
I like the forums.
No, I made that up way before that fucking movie came out, and that movie pissed me off.
Right.
I did.
Do
I
you
witnessed
frequent the forums?
Max likes to get on forums. Mm-hmm.
I like tracheotomies.
He smoked every marble.
19th century man, 19th century man, 19th century man. He's a bigot.
Oh,
He's
So
not
you-
a bigot because he's been transported in time.
Yeah, it's
He was
just
a bigot back then.
that's true. So he's an extreme bigot. So you guys have these flying contraptions that we ride on now, huh? He's like, yeah, well, they're called airplanes. Oh, okay. Hello, I'm Jenny. I'll be your pilot today. Oh, you let women fly these things, huh? All right, well, I'll go and end this. Goodbye.
So, I think the tier, because that way we could make 4 lists.
No.
All right, I'm killing it.
Jeremy, you're gonna have to cut this out.
Max
Hold on, wait,
hates
wait,
black
all right.
people.
Max is under the assumption we
say-
do stuff.
I was gonna say your obsession with that show was probably in the back of your mind something to do with your obsession with 14-year-olds.
I'm going to go ahead and let you know right now, just in case you ever tried to go out there. If you try and talk to a 14-year-old girl, My Little Pony is not going to get you anywhere.
Does not? I don't
No,
know.
no.
No, you just say, I have a car.
Boone's Farm.
You go to one of those. You go
Tastes
to
like Kool-Aid. They love that shit.
you go to one of the 8 states. You just screw the middle schools. Like, dude, I got a car. I can go wherever I want.
Except for out of state.
Except for out of state. We gotta stay inside the border.
This podcast has officially become about pedophilia.
It's even better.
Not in every state.
L2 Wargame, Episode 1, the pedo seasons.
All right. So anyway,
Season 2, Episode 1.
we can start
Hello,
recording
pals.
now.
Yeah. All right. Welcome.